Drafted in the 3rd round of the 1996 NFL Draft by the 49ers, he is renowned for his exceptional hands and ability to make plays. He ranks 3rd in NFL history in both receiving yards and touchdowns. He was a 6-time Pro Bowl selection and was named to the 2000s All-Decade Team. Born in Alexander City, Alabama, known for his flamboyant touchdown celebrations, he was often seen as a decisive figure off the field.
Ooh.
He was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2018. Jules, what wild dude are we talking about right now, right here, as wild dude number 2?
Let's get on T.O.
T.O.
Man.
was a wild dude. What's the wildest thing that comes to your mind when you hear of Terrell Owens, a.k.a. T.O.?
The first thing that comes to my mind is him doing sit-ups in front of his house on a sit-up like bench with all the media outside of him. Was it during his suspension?
It was during his suspension when he got suspended by the Philadelphia Eagles.
And he looked yoked.
He looked yoked.
And he looked yoked.
When I remember that press conference that he did outside of his home when he was doing the sit-ups, and I'm telling you, I was such in shock of how yoked he was and how ripped that I truly didn't believe that I could play in the NFL from there, because I thought that's what you had to look like in order to catch passes in the NFL. Just, yeah, absolute specimen, absolute freak of nature he looked like. The guy didn't have an ounce of fat on him, and I was like, damn, I want to look like that one day, man. That guy is ripped.
Great smile, too.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Yeah, he is. He is.
Freaking T.O., man, I grew up watching him, and I remember when it just changed overnight. You know, he struggled with drops early in his career, and then it was that wild card weekend or divisional round game against Green Bay where Steve Young almost fell in his drop and hit him down the middle of the field on a split safety seam, and Terrell caught a ball in between 3 guys, got crunched, made the play, they won the game, and like, from there on out, he just took off. And
is that the play that he, started crying right after he made the catch? That just shows that someone loves the game of football as well. To have that type of emotion after a play like that, and then you're crying right there and then on the field.
He was an emotional guy.
That's when you know you love the game of football, though. When a play can make you cry.
You could tell he loved football.
Mm-hmm.
He liked playing football. I don't know, but he didn't love, there's a lot of the team stuff where, Andy Reid is considered probably the most, like, he's a big player coach, right? From what we hear, I've never
player
played
coach
with him.
that takes no shit.
And he had to get him out, and they traded him in the division to Cowboys. That's crazy to me. That's a wild move.
I've heard though that
if you go in division against like your rival, that's like one of the oldest rivalries in goddamn football. Philly fucking Cowboys. And he was still elite. Like, that's how wild of a dude you have to be.
He was wild in all aspects. He was wild, playing the game of football. He was wild off the field. He was wild with touchdown celebrations, but he was also wild with what he was going through when playing in some of the games, like the broken leg or the broken ankle in the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
He literally broke his ankle, like
2 weeks before the Super Bowl,
or whatever it was. It was basically broken. He played against the Pats in Super Bowl 39. He had I think like 9 receptions for 120 plus yards.
Yeah.
From what I recall. Yes, New England won that Super Bowl, baby, 24-21, but obviously Philadelphia Eagles, they got us back when they beat us in 2017. But that's because Julian wasn't playing. Jules, if you were playing, we would have won that game. You
had no problem on offense that year.
And what's wild about it too is he signed a waiver to go against the doctor's orders in order to play that game, because the doctors were telling him that he couldn't play because of how significant the injury was. But he was so wild, so ambitious, and loved the game of football so much, and he was so wild in his rehab that he got himself to the point where he was able to play in that Super Bowl. And like I said, I'm going to say it again, 9 receptions, 122 yards, 2 weeks after breaking your ankle, or 3 weeks or whatever it was. I don't know. It was actually, I think he broke it.
It was week 15.
It was week 15. So he had about 4 or 5 weeks to recover and play in the Super Bowl. That's fast, bro. You got to give him credit, man.
He's like one of those ultra competitors where, like, it doesn't matter what's going on outside the game. Whenever you put him inside the lines, he's gonna ball. And when I watch his film, he's absolutely a freak out there with how big he was, with how he could catch the ball. He looked like a tight end in the middle of the field, but he's fast. You never saw anyone catch T.O. from behind.
Who did he remind you of?
He reminded me of you.
I agree with that, bro. What I loved about T.O. on the field, especially his young days, bro, this guy was strong.
Strong.
Long legs, strong legs. And the most important thing was he never got tired. To be that size, 6'4", 220-plus pounds, and to never get tired, yapping his mouth, doing his antics, going for over 100-plus yards a game.
You know what I think that's
impressive.
because of?
What's it because of?
Because he was drafted to San Francisco, and he saw how Jerry Rice was. And Jerry Rice was the most in shape in the history of the goddamn game. And I guarantee, regardless of how in shape T.O. was,
that's a good point.
Jerry was Jerry still. And then once, I remember the day on Jerry Rice Day that freaking T.O. caught 20 damn balls on Jerry Rice's last game as a Niner. But like having that horse, that rabbit horse of what Jerry Rice was, helped make T.O. how crazy T.O. was, because in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking, man, that's the greatest receiver. I'm better than him. But he saw how Jerry prepared, so he probably took a little bit of that.
That's a good point, man. Well said. And what also made T.O. so great as a football player as well, he was so explosive.
So explosive.
It didn't matter if it was coming, right off the line into the route or after making the catch. He would just explode right up the field. And he was so strong because you could tell he was so strong because, like you said, he reminded me of me. I would just say a little bit skinnier and at the wide receiver position.
He's kind of like A.J. Brown.
Yes.
He reminds me of A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm. And anyone that tried tackling him, he would just throw the defender right off of him. T.O. broke tackles. He broke tackles like no other wide receiver broke tackles. That's why he kind of reminds me of myself. It looked like he was a mini me just running through the defense, and he was so physical as well at top of the route. That's what got him open plenty of times. On top of having a deep ball and running by a defender, that's what made T.O. so great and special as well. And that's why he's a top 5 receiver of all time. Wouldn't you say?
He has to
top
be.
5.
I mean, you watch his film on like 5 different teams. Even when he was old guy, he was still making crazy plays. I mean, he played in a professional game, I think, like 4 years ago at 50. Like, he's still a specimen.
He is. He's playing in basketball leagues, celebrity basketball games. Doesn't get tired, and he's always ready to go, man. He's never sore. I feel like every time I see him, he's just full speed.
How wild was it when he went to fucking Dallas and did the star thing?
Well, what was wild? Well, that was when he was on San Francisco. He did the star thing. Then Emmitt Smith came back and did the star thing. He's so freaking wild that he went back and did it again after scoring another touchdown. That's how wild T.O. is. And he had Dallas absolutely hate him. And then what was so wild in the end is he got traded to Dallas at, some point in his career from Philadelphia Eagles. And then they fell in love with him in Dallas as well because he was such a baller and so wild out there on the field and had a freaking like 50 wild TD celebrations as well in Dallas.
What other TD? I remember him doing the popcorn in the face. Oh, wait up. Can you toss me a ball real quick?
Yeah, I got you. Here, Jules. Oh, Tony Romo dropping back. Oh, hits T.O. Touchdown, baby.
Touchdown.
Oh.
One of the most famous one that we saw even influence Christian McCaffrey on one of our episodes.
When he was 7 years old.
7 years old, takes out, signs the ball. After a touchdown, takes out of his sock. How fucking crazy is that's kind of like when you took out the easy button on your fucking out of the thing. Did he influence you?
I got Jules' autograph. Dude, I'm going right to eBay, baby. I need some money in my bank account. How much will I get, Jules?
Probably $300. Did he influence you to take out the easy button? Because
actually, that is exactly who influenced me. Because once I saw the easy button in my locker when Staples sent it to me, I actually was like, oh, I'm going to hide this behind the goalpost. No, he hid something behind a goalpost.
That was Joe Horn with the cell phone. Ocho, what?
Ocho tried to hide the easy button.
Ocho tried to hide the easy button.
Put it this way. I was inspired by T.O. and Chad Ochocinco combined, and that's what made me do the easy button, celebration in practice.
2 wild
because
cards
of those 2 guys. They inspired me to be freaking absolutely wild. So here we go. Signed football right here. Inspired by T.O. And we'll be giving this football away, everyone.
One lucky fan, best comment section in something. We'll discover what it is. But you got to do something really cool. What else we got? Did we miss anything else?
Yeah, what I really love about T.O. as well and what made him such a beast on the field and so hard to tackle is the way he ran and the way he just got his knees up in the air. He ran with high knees. And when you run with high knees like that, it's hard to take someone out and especially catch them from behind. And that's why he looked like, what are those gazelles out there?
Yeah.
He looked like a gazelle when he was running, like kind of like a horse as well. And that's why no one could catch him. And that's why he was so great, so fast, so talented, because of those high knees, that drive that he had.
How old is T.O. right now?
He's 50.
He still looks great, man. He still looks like a professional athlete. If you see, I saw him like maybe a couple years ago somewhere. He was cool as fuck. And he still looked like he could go out. What the fuck? El Dorado is his middle name? El Dorado?
Terrell Eldorado Owens.
That is a sick ass. I would have gone as El Dorado. El Dorado Owens?
That would have been a badass football name.
El Dorado?
Imagine just putting El Dorado on back of a jersey name.
El Dorado.
Oh, everyone would have that jersey.
Why don't you give me some way?
Don't know that song.
What's the craziest injury that you played through?
I would say I basically did the same thing. When I basically snapped my ankle in half, AFC Championship game versus the Baltimore Ravens. I came back in that game about 15 minutes later and played, about 8 minutes with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So that was one of the craziest injuries I played through. Oh, also, I broke 6 of my ribs when I was in Tampa. I got level going across the middle. Tom set me up once again.
I think we talked about that, didn't we?
I don't know. I'm not
I
sure.
feel like we talked about that already.
And I broke 6 of my ribs, and then the X-ray machine showed that I didn't break any ribs. So I went back in the game like, oh, I can't. I got to go back in. I can't, be a sissy. The X-ray machine said I had no broken ribs. So I go back in the game, get 2 more catches. I'm like, I'm hurting, bro. I'm hurting. Like this is bad. So I take myself back out of the game. We go home, and then I get an MRI, and I have 6 broken ribs.
Jesus.
So I played through that. That was painful. That was painful.
What about him and Ocho having a TV show together?
I remember it was hosted by like Kevin Frazier, and it was on like a network we really never heard of.
But what would our show be called? Name? That's the T.O. Show. That's a pretty good name.
How about
the T.O. Show?
Gronky Nuts.
Gronky Nuts.
Yeah.
I like it. Gronk and Jules.
Gronk and Jules.
And then last, let us know what you guys think our show should be. Also, we'd be crazy if we don't talk about when he started crying about Tony Romo, and that's my quarterback. You know how many times I've used that in just like a jokingly term?
I've heard you use it plenty of times.
That's my quarterback, man.
What about his shades, though? Those are some pretty awful shades.
I liked them. I thought they were swaggy.
I was not a fan of them.
T.O. I bet you he's just a misunderstood dude. He's got a lot of emotions in there. I wonder what his upbringing was, because he would have those bursts, you know what I mean? But you knew he loved the game.
Well, what kind of dude is Terrell Owens, Jules?
I think it's easy for this one. I mean, you could put him in as a dog because he's a dog. He's definitely a stud. Wiz, he's could be a whiz.
I mean, he definitely knows the game of football. He was all purpose on the field. I mean, he could take handoffs as well. He could
do everything on the field.
Yeah, he was an all-purpose football player besides a running back.
But I think it's one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this guy had unparalleled physical abilities.
Unparalleled.
I mean, he was one of one. His instincts were through the roof. I gotta go
on 3.
With
let's see if we're
as well, Jules.
1, 2, 3.
Freak. Absolute freak of nature.
Without a doubt.
I got another question real quick, Jules. Would you cry for Tom Brady?
I did cry for Tom Brady, but it wasn't in the same context. It was when I read about him leaving New England, and without, reading it from him, I read it on ESPN bottom ticker that Brady signed to Tampa Bay, and then, I had a single tear run down my beard. I just saw him 3 days before, too, with Jimmy fucking Fallon at the goddamn Syracuse game. The guy didn't hint anything to me.
I feel for you, Jules.
Would you cry for him?
I have.
Are you gonna cry right now?
Yeah.
Let's see if you can you cry on command?
I'm just crying, just thinking about all our good times we had together.
Is that a
And
Gronk
it's
cry?
over.
I see a tear.
I'm trying.
I see a
I'm trying.
tear.
I'm trying.
I see a
Jules.
tear.
I just tried. I almost got
He's
a tear.
coming.
I almost got a tear. Wow, I almost got a tear. That was pretty good.
Hey,
Pretty good.
I think that's
I'm not lying. I almost got
man.
one.
That's my time.
I'm actually feeling more emotional now.
Where did you go to get the emotion?
I just thought about all our Super Bowl wins and how much work we put in and how it's all over.
So
though.
that's what you pulled from to get the tear. I'm working on my tears. I just did an audition where I had to have a sex scene with the guy over Zoom.
Oh, I would be.
Let's
tearing.
just be say.
I
Let's
would be
just.
tearing
It's
if I
safe
was
to
you.
say I didn't get the fucking role.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't, Jules.
God.
You would be the definition of dudes on dudes.